Okay, gang, this is day number 3 of 5, where you are getting to hear from the top contributors, the top 30 within our 55 plus community. I have no idea how Facebook does it, but they tell me which ones are in here the most, making a difference. So these are seriously, I consider my dearest friends because they're a part of this journey so much. And I like to make sure you guys are hearing more personalities, more thought process than just mine. So I reached out to a bunch of them. You're getting to see them here throughout the week. Today, of course, is Wellness Wednesday. So we're going to talk about the nutrition pillar. But just so you know, I never coach anybody. I want them to share whatever they feel relates to this part of their journey right now. And there's 3 gals on today. I'm going to share with you a little flip thing before we begin. So it's Wellness Wednesday. This whole week's theme is Together We Are Stronger. And we are, because together we've all got different perspectives to share with one another. And this one is Time to Eat Healthy. It would be kind of the theme to nutrition. And we all know can be the most challenging pillar we have. But Lynette has offered to come on today. Janine has offered to come on today, and Miriam. And I didn't even pay them anything, and they're coming on, girls. So I'm telling you, this is pure money when 3 girlfriends are kind enough to come on and talk about this topic. So as you girls know, I just want you to, are you noticing Michael Fisher? You have competition today on Wellness Wednesday. Are you noticing Janine? She's wearing this hat just to kind of blend with you, actually. Although I have to say, Janine, it's quite of a classy look. Not that Michael isn't classy or anything, but he clowns around a lot. And she was at something special, and they gave her. Did they give you this hat?
No, it was just a gift from a friend. It was like a joke gift. I said I needed a sun hat, and
Yeah.
they got me the biggest sun hat on the planet. And
Yeah.
so
And we all
I figured after Michael's beautiful hat the other day, or hair,
hair.
I was kind of like, I want to do something fun like Michael.
Exactly. He always makes me smile. I always look at his post to think, okay, what's he up to today? He's up to something, I'm sure of it. But like us girls talked about before we began, you could have your sweetheart even in the shade under that one. It's that big. It's more than a one-person hat. So share us.
It might be a 10-gallon hat. Who knows?
Exactly. So share with us how you approach this topic in your life. We all know we're eating. It's how are we gonna eat?
Okay. Well, this hat would symbol what? Like, where would you take this hat?
The beach.
The beach, right? If you were traveling, right?
Yes.
So for a good portion of my life, I traveled nonstop for 13 years as a flight attendant for Delta Airlines. And so my entire life was on the go, on the go, on the go, eating. And I had to learn to pack 3 days worth of food into one bag because I had one food bag that I would carry with me. And as we all know, food choices in airports are, bad.
Yeah.
As because of that, I had put on a lot of weight in the first couple of years of flying because I was stopping at Popeyes and stopping at here and stopping at there. So anyway, so I had to learn I particularly joined Weight Watchers on and off throughout the years, many years, when I was little and then later in life. And so I learned how to look at food as needed for my body as opposed to always treating myself for getting through a hard day. Because I would fly 4 legs in one day. I would get up at 3 a.m. I would fly to Atlanta. I would fly to Birmingham. I'd fly back to Atlanta. I'd fly back up to Newark all in one day, 15-hour days. And they were really hard. So it's stressful. And I think that that's something that we can all relate to as far as stress and eating and being a stress eater. And I wanted to read this to you because when you asked me about this at first, my only first thought was carrots are better than eclairs. And I was like, okay, yeah, carrots are better than eclairs. And then I saw this the other day, and it's I don't know if you can see this on my iPad, but it's a little thing I found on Instagram. It says stress diet, breakfast, 1/2 of a grapefruit, 1 slice of whole wheat toast, and 8-ounce milk. And I start reading it and I'm thinking, this is a real cool, this is a real diet because it's in a recipe book. It says lunch. It says lunch, 4-ounce lean broiled chicken breast, 1 cup of steamed zucchini, 1 Oreo cookie, and herb tea. Okay, so that's not too bad, right? We got a lot of ourselves a little something, something. Mid-afternoon snack, rest of the pack of Oreos, 1 quart of Rocky Road ice cream, 1 jar of hot fudge. Dinner, 2 loaves of garlic bread, large pepperoni and mushroom pizza, 1 large pitcher of Pepsi, 2 Milky Way candy bars, and the entire frozen cheesecake eaten directly from the freezer. Okay. So
Is so stinking relatable because
that's my life
yeah,
because
but
I feel like there's stress. Yeah.
the real
And then you start
challenge
out.
is we can be good, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
even 6 days good and go to a wedding on the weekend and have the whole week's choices flipped upside
Yeah.
down between all
So
the
it's like
choices.
I had a grapefruit. So there was a phrase that I love that I often think of when I'm in a challenge, which I am a lot because I live with boys and they eat a lot and they eat a lot of bad things. And they don't like a lot of the things I like. So they don't eat shrimp, they don't eat fish, they don't eat vegetables, they don't, they don't eat healthy things. Um, and that is you can never hate yourself thin,
Oh, yeah,
meaning you cannot hate yourself and become thin.
right.
And so when I think about if I take my son through someplace or like last year he was in marching band and we were back and forth all the time, constantly on the run, and I would be faced with a drive through, I would think, how much do I love myself today? And am I going to choose this thing that is good for me or bad for me, not good for me? Am I going to choose this poor thing or am I going to wait till I get home and make myself a piece of salmon or whatever I know I have in the freezer, you know? And I'm not perfect by any means. And I struggle huge with this particular pillar. But I love that phrase that you can't hate yourself thin.
Yeah.
And that loving myself where I'm at, no matter what situation I'm in, whether it's, a number on the scale or a difficult work week or a difficult whatever, if I love myself, I will make better choices.
Oh, yeah. And absolutely, there's no way negative thoughts can lead to positive results.
Yeah.
So it is that fit or the mindset pillar is totally wrapped around the
The
nutrition
food.
pillar and the mindset
Yeah.
pillar are so wrapped around
Yeah.
each other. It's unbelievable.
So on the food part with Weight Watchers, we have a lot of foods that are 0 points. And so I try to focus on those things when I'm having a rough week. And then I like to order food, like if I'm ordering from Walmart or Kroger, I like to order and pick up because then I'm not doing the whole walk around the store,
Me
see
too.
something that's like, oh yeah, I think I'd like to try that today. So it helps me to stick to a plan if I'm, kind of good at that this week or whatever. So
Cool. Cool. Thank you for sharing that. Oh my word.
thanks.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Lynette, are you ready to go, girlfriend?
I'm as ready as I'm going to be.
Oh, we appreciate it.
I actually, not a lot of people know, but I'm very open about it. I'm actually a bariatric patient. I had a Roux-en-Y gastric bypass about 3 years ago, but before that, I did keto for about 2 years, 2.5 years. I was really successful. I had actually um, had horrible knee pain, and actually I needed double knee replacements. So I had started on that due to the amount of pain that I was in. I was able to get my knee replacements in March of 2020, just before the world shut down. Same day the world shut down is when I had my surgery for the first one.
Oh wow.
And then I had my second one in December of 2020. Thankfully, I had a surgeon who knew I was working on losing weight, still proceeded with the surgeries. But with recovery, you kind of lose the ability to move the way you like to while you're recovering. So I gained about 27 pounds back. I had originally lost about 82, I want to say 87. I started about 325. So basically I made the choice to have a gastric bypass. It's not the end, makes everything better. I work at it every single day. So before I had surgery, I actually was on a keto diet where it was more meal prepping, more organization, big batch cooking like Pam says she does. But now that I've had that, I kind of, I struggle still with the mental voice in my head of you're hungry when I know it's really not my belly talking, it's more my head talking. It's what I'm used to. So yeah, I have to try to really zone that out. I have to stay busy. I have to chew gum a lot just because it keeps my mouth moving and makes it think that I'm getting some sort of satisfaction there. What I do at the beginning of the week or end of the weekend is what I should say is I grab some stuff, my proteins out of my freezer, take them out. I will pick out of those through the week. I don't really have a set thing that I make. It's whatever's available, something simple. I'm a very simple cook. I've never really enjoyed cooking. My poor kids, I don't know how they made it all until they grew up because I'm not a cook. I really dislike it. But I find if it's simple, I don't use a lot of ingredients, I'm more successful.
That's good.
Yeah, so that's how I get through that. And actually, to be honest, I'm more intentional with my snacks and my desserts than I am my main meals because they take a little bit more creativity to get me what I want. I still try to strive for simple. Well, so usually in my fridge, you'll find a lot of berries. You'll find watermelon. I've discovered the world of cottage cheese that I would never eat by itself even now, but to blend it up and to add it to other things, it is you don't even know it's there. So one of my favorite things is to blend up a protein shake with a half a cup of cottage cheese and some sugar-free pudding mix. And it makes great pudding. Throw some fresh fruit on top of it. It's it's really good. And I can't believe I say that. I'll have Jello. I make sugar-free Jello. So like I said, I'm more intentional with what I have for a snack than I am with what I eat, but I know what I'm eating is a protein-based first and some vegetables. But for me, it's got to be more simple for me to follow through with it, get what I need. I'm trying to look at it more of, again, it's just what it's fuel for my body, not just because I want to put it in my mouth. And like Janine had a quote, and I've actually been thinking about one too, that fits kind of where I'm at. My fitness, my activity level is on point. I've really mastered that. It's more of the nutritional aspect that I'm still working on because again, it's in my head that I'm hungry when actually I'm really not. So it says fitness is like marriage. You can't cheat on it and expect it to work.
Whoa.
I I saw this a couple of weeks ago and I've really been trying to play that in my head over and over again whenever I get these things of you're hungry. Yesterday would have been divorce. Today's a better day. You know, so
Exactly.
yeah, it's I'm a work in progress. I just try to do the next best, the next right thing. I look for healthier alternatives. If I say I want ice cream, then I'll go for a sugar-free popsicle. Anything to kind of just make a better choice than what I would originally think of.
Yeah.
And that seems to work for me.
Wow. I think a ton of people actually relate to that, Lynette. I really do, because a lot of people seem to tell me, I just want to get in the kitchen, do something fast and get out of it.
Yeah, I don't want to spend a lot of time like with my husband if I order him something out, because he's not doing the same thing I am. I don't order anything because I know what I'm making for myself. I know what I'm putting into it. I know what I'm putting into my body. Um,
So
so that,
that's a good comment to bring up. So your
yeah,
husband is
yep,
eating different food than you're eating.
correct.
And can you
Correct.
clarify? So are you setting down at the same time, but you've prepared yours and describe
Usually, go ahead. I'm sorry.
no, describe what that is. So are you preparing two meals?
Sometimes he usually eats earlier than I do. He usually eats about 4. He works outside, so he's really usually hungry when he gets in, and then a lot of times he'll go out afterwards. So he eats about 4-ish. I usually prefer to eat later because it kind of forces me to, wait for one thing and not have so much empty time at the end of the day where that voice in my head is saying, you're bored, you should have something to eat. It helps me with that.
Right.
But last night he got home late, so he ate a little bit later. So I felt comfortable eating when he did. We both actually had spaghetti, but he had regular pasta, and I had um, skinny skinny noodles, I think they're called. So there's like 4.5 calories in a serving. There's two servings in a container. So it was 9 calories for the skinny pasta, and then whatever I had for sauce, I get a low calorie, low carb sauce at Aldi's that we really like. So that's what we did have. But a lot of times, sometimes I am cooking different meals, and that's okay. I mean, the process has made me appreciate or not dislike cooking as much as I did in the beginning. Before I would cook, when my kids were at home, my kids are now all grown up and they're all out. So, I would cook to make sure they ate. I ate when they ate. But now it's more like I can choose what I want to do when I want to do it. And it's,
Seriously, you guys, I think this is incredibly profound because we are talking 55 and up. So many of us don't have children any longer in the house. And yet people will say, well, I could lose weight, but my spouse or my significant other, they don't like to eat like I eat. Well, I hate to say this, but it's still a decision. How are you going to maneuver that if you want to stay with the person? Scott and I will be 49 years this fall. And as soon as the kids left home, seriously, I don't have a specific, I learned to eat when I wanted to, if it happened to be fitting with him. But I have noticed on my nutrition journey that I started on January 20th of 2022, I cannot let that pillar, my nutrition pillar, cannot be connected, specifically wrapped around the man that I love, because his choices are still quite a bit different than mine.
yeah,
So I love that you're saying, don't, Scott and I don't eat at the same time, and yet we'll sit with the other one when the other one's eating.
right. I
But
do the same thing if he's, I'm always here when he's eating, but if he's gone, then I'll eat. He's not
so it's
here.
about thinking outside the box. You modify for what fits you personally. And what's really cool is the last one that's going to go is Miriam. And Miriam happens to be one that has like that. How would I frame that, Miriam? The family unit really does still connect sitting at a table. Even she's got children and grandchildren that come on a fairly regular basis, and they all sit down and eat together. And I always tell her that's one of the most beautiful parts that I see about your life, Miriam. And so she represents the person that has to figure out, okay, now I'm with everybody. How do I eat without wrecking the whole parties every week? So, but I told her right up front, Miriam, you're just so fortunate. You're so blessed to have that much family that come and fellowship around a table, Miriam. You have a beautiful family life. So share
Thank
with
you.
us, you're going to reach a whole nother segment, Miriam. I know it. Share with us how you connect with all of this.
Okay, so my goodness. If I went first, it was like, oh no, I'm so glad to have heard all of this because I can connect to it.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I want to start by saying that my mother took me to a diet doctor when I was 13 years old. And I was telling this to Pam the other day, and in the early 60s, amphetamines was the way to go. And I was 13 years old and put on speed. And I was just, that's what you did. That's what you did. So, what I say, I connect. When you were saying, Janine, you can't hate yourself into being thin, it was, I had received the message that I was not thin, therefore not good enough. Therefore, I was telling Pam, I was already married with children, and I had an aunt come up to me and say, you better lose weight or you're going to lose your husband. And keep in mind, I was this weight. I was this weight at the time. You know what I mean? Or I was whatever it was. I was not something that would have warranted that. But in the 40s and the 50s, that was women's job. The women's job was to be thin and find a husband and hold on to that husband. And the fashion was, and Janine, you seem awfully young, but you may remember this, Lynette, you might remember this. But the fashion was a shirt waist, which was the dresses with the buttons, okay? And the thin waist with the belt. All right. And so that's what you were supposed to wear. And even though I said I wasn't extremely heavy, neither could I wear a shirt. I still don't wear shirts with buttons. Cannot be done on my body. And so the thing is, I carried this shame, and also this, no, I don't want to use the word hatred, but it took a while to forgive my mother and to forgive my aunts and even my grandmother, because they were trying to do what they knew to do, which was make me thin and find a husband. All right. So I'm just going there to say that if you're my age, I'll be 72 in September. If you're my age, you understand this and you understand the baggage that you come with. All right. And I look back now and it's like, oh my God, I'd give anything to weigh what I weighed in high school. But yet it was like I was on amphetamines. I was considered so fat. So anyway, so moving forward, what I'm trying to say is I have been a lifelong dieter. I say professional dieter, a lifelong dieter. And it was my mother, you eat something separate and then the whole family eats everything else and you eat your 6 Cheerios because that's what you counted out and that's what's on your diet plan. So, this is the backgrounds. And I think if you are this age or coming upon this age or older than this age, you can understand that. So when Pam was talking about sitting with the family, when we retired, we moved a mile away from my daughter. So they come, we see the grandkids all the time. Can you take Owen to soccer? And of course that means dinner and, can he sleep over and, all that sort of stuff. But a set dinner, we do at least once a week. All right. So they come over. So my daughter comes over with her husband and the grandkids, and my son will come if he can come. He has strange hours, but if a night off coincides with the day my daughter comes, he'll come too. And the other thing that complicates this is my husband and I owned a restaurant, and we're all about the food and the cooking and the presentation. Even my grandson, Owen, who's only 7 years old, he says, can I make the dessert plate? And you say, okay. So he'll get out the Oreos and the strawberries and the this and the that, and he'll take a big, and he'll make like a face or something, or he'll say, this is the ocean and these are the fish in the ocean. It's like every time he puts a plate out, it's a piece of art. Okay. And this is the way we present food. When we sit down to dinner, when we're sitting down as a family, it's as if we're presenting food in the restaurant. It's really a gorgeous affair. And my husband retired and he got nothing to do but grocery shop and cook all day. So now whenever I try to do anything, but I have to say he's very supportive. Like I have a girlfriend who told me a couple of weeks ago she was doing a Whole30 cycle. And I told him my husband, and his eyes lit up, and he said, are you doing it with her? And I says, no, I'm just supporting her this time. Because he loves to figure out how to take this creamy, sugary horribleness and make it into a Whole30 sauce. I mean, this is a challenge for him. So it doesn't matter if I'm doing keto, he figures it out. If I'm doing Whole30, he figures it out. If I'm doing Weight Watchers, he figures it out because he's all about the cooking. This is his challenge. Right. But I told you I used to work Marcel Doré, in our group, and he was my first fast track coach. And his biggest thing that he said to me during my 12 weeks with him, he said, Miriam, you just cycle one diet after another. He said, I haven't seen you stick with one thing for 1 week in the 12 weeks we've worked together. So first of all, my repertoire can cycle through 52 diets in a year. That's how many diets I know. But it's hard. It's like, well, what am I doing this week? Am I doing Weight Watchers this week? Am I doing Whole30 this week? Am I doing keto this week? Am I doing so it's very, very it's confusing to my chef. And it's very confusing. It's confusing to me. And I've investigated a lot of things. And in the past, the nutrition pillar is so hard for me because of all of this. It's like I have too many choices. And I'm not a choice person. Like, don't show me 7 dresses. Whittle it down to 2 and I'll tell you which one I like. I can't look at 7 dresses. And I'm the same way with food, but because I have all these diets that at some point worked, I can't whittle it down. And what was becoming very hard for me with the challenge, and Marcel will tell you, I'm not working with
Oh, wait a
Pam.
minute. So they know what you're talking about. She's talking about DDPY once a year kick off what's called the Positively Unstoppable Challenge. So this kicked off in January and runs till the end of September. And that when she's saying challenge, that's the thing. You should check it out, you guys. It's pretty exciting, but go ahead.
Right. Okay. So what was for me is like, maybe since the beginning of the challenge, I may slip into it having lost 20 pounds. I mean, I have lost weight, but not the 70 pounds, not the 50 pounds, not the 38 inches, nothing like that. It's just, I haven't gotten fatter. I mean, this is a success. I'm not fatter than I was in January, and if you want to count that as a success, it's a success.
Yeah.
So what I was finding hard with, and I sort of figured it out just a couple of weeks ago, is that I had to make the decision that nutrition was different than numbers. And if I was going to lose weight for the challenge, I know Weight Watchers works. I know keto works. I know Whole30, any of that works, and I would get the numbers that I want. But it wasn't working for those family dinners, and it wasn't working, for instance, Weight Watchers. So Janine, you'll know this. So I was not doing Weight Watchers, but I wanted to track my food, and I had, a 9-month membership, like one of these things they sell you for $60. So I said I might as well use it. I'm so familiar with Weight Watchers. Instead of calories, I'll do the points. So I had made a recipe, an egg roll in a bowl. And if you use soy sauce, it comes out to like 6 points per serving. And that would be like maybe 150 calories or something. But nutritionally, soy sauce isn't good for me because it has wheat and it has soy. So I use coconut aminos, which gives you the same flavor. And this was something I learned on keto, Whole30, they do coconut. So I put I put the coconut aminos into the Weight Watchers app, and it's like 3 or 4 points per tablespoon. And the recipe needed 1/4 cup. And I says, I don't want, and I was going like this, and I put in the soy sauce against my better judgment. I put in the soy sauce because I was chasing the numbers. Okay. And it was the wrong decision because what I should have been doing was chasing the nutrition. And nothing is wrong with soy sauce. For me, soy sauce isn't good. That's what I'm saying. For me, soy sauce isn't good. And I just made this recipe like Saturday or something. It's not like I'm talking a month ago. And I'm still wrestling a little bit between nutrition and numbers. And when I have the family over, it was the same thing when we first moved here and I'm chasing numbers. It's like, okay, well, I'll make this for the family, but I'll make mine without the breading, without the this, without the that. So I'll have the numbers. and maybe it wasn't such a good dinner.
Mm.
And so my husband said to me, he says, what if I try using almond flour instead of breadcrumbs? He said, I bet it was like one of the best recipes he ever made, and now the whole family eats it. So because of the nuts, the nuts are no bargain. I mean, the almonds have fat and they have the protein and all of that. It probably was more than if he had just dusted it with breadcrumbs.
Right.
But we were going for nutrition instead of number. So I'm still fighting with that. And it's hard to know that I'm making my challenge submission in September. September 2nd is my date, my finish date. And to know that there's like my measurements are the same as they were in January. I don't know, maybe I'm losing it in my face. I don't know where it's coming from. It's not coming from anywhere else. And to know that, I'm going to have to, if they go into your app and check your measurements for 6 months, that bust hasn't moved, the waist hasn't moved, the hips, my face is thinner, the hips haven't moved. And it's really hard because I could have made the choice for numbers. But I've really, I learned about the microbiome diet and all of this, and I just decided, when it's 72 years old, in order to be the best 72-year-old and maybe 82 and 92, my mother died when she was 104. I got 30 more years in front of me.
Exactly.
If I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to look, and the next time I make that recipe, say, I'm not going to do the soy sauce, even though the numbers are better, because the coconut aminos are better for me and my joints.
Yeah.
And I want to pursue nutrition. And when I put out the food, and believe me, plenty of cookies and candies and crap for the kids. It's not like it's not in my house. But when we sit down for the dinner, I can make the dinner more nutrition oriented than the numbers oriented. The kids can have whatever, the kids can have what I said. Does your mother let you eat this? No, because she knows we're coming to your house. We can eat it at your house. So anyway, so that's something I'm still, obviously struggling with. I'm talking about it 6 months later, how I haven't lost any inches or lost any weight, but it was a decision I had to make.
Yeah.
And I think it was the right decision.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Miriam, people are going to relate. People are going to totally relate to everything that you've talked about. And it is the concept, you guys. Probably the thing that I was the most impressed with DDPY was it wasn't another diet. Because at this age, I'm 69, but if we're at 55 plus, in here, at this age, you've all tried like a lot of diets, right? So what I knew for a fact was I didn't want another diet and I didn't want to exercise. It was like, I don't want to do any of those, right? But when I looked at the DDPY approach, when they talk about nutrition, they're actually talking about health. Like worse in the hands of time because you're eating healthier. And true, you'll see the 400 and 500 pounds come all the way down, right? I did 80 pounds in 10 months, 77 inches gone in 10 months. But it really isn't the diet. It is the way you're eating that finally took the inflammation out of my body. So I felt like walking, right? I'd lost all mobility. So if you're chasing nutrition, like you're talking about, Miriam, we're going to feel better. So we actually want to take that walk, right? Because the mobility thing is a real thing at this age. We either use it or we're going to lose it, right? So I love that you're really, and I've told you from the beginning when you and I started, because I was her second fast track coach. I'll never forget our first meeting where you said, I won't do this, I won't do this, and I won't do this, and I won't. And so I'm making a note. I'm thinking, okay, well, day one, we're not going to do any of those things. But right away, what you girls, honestly, and those who are watching, what I appreciate the most about Miriam is she's a thinker. And Miriam, you have always tried to figure out everything as it relates to your life, not my life or someone else. And if we can stay focused on that, you guys, it's modifying to our own life. Just like Lynette and I technically that seems foreign to people, that you would eat at a separate time from your spouse or the one you live with. But really, is it matter that it looks foreign to everybody outside my house? Or does it matter that it fits Scott and I? Right. And so I love that you guys have all shared totally different perspectives, finding your own way, your own path. And I'd like to go one more round around before we pass, in case there's something else you want to add. We'll start with you, Janine. Anything,
Oh,
any
wow.
thoughts that come to you before that you think somebody might want to hear after they've heard all this?
Well, the only other footnote I think I would add would be that I wanted to shout out to Vicky, who was on earlier in the week, because I'm in the hip replacement club. And Miriam, you're very sweet to say I don't look that old. And so it's quite a comeback, to go through that kind of stuff, the knee replacements like you've had, Lynette, and the hip replacements like Vicky. And I'm so excited to see that she's doing good after a month.
Yeah.
I'm 2 years past and I'm still working. Like today, when I walked up the stairs, when I'm having a good day and I can walk up the stairs without holding on to the handrail, like that's a good day. And I miss being in my 30s and having all of that stuff I used to have. But I'm thankful because the level of pain that Vicky was in and Lynette can understand, and
Absolutely.
the level of pain that I was in prior to it was insane. And so there's those little things. And one of the things about it is I had lost 50 pounds to get to the place of having the kind of surgery that I had. So I know I never want to go back there because I don't want to put that strain on my beautiful bionic hip. So, it's a constant kind of reminder of how I need to be good to myself with my food so that I can take care of and enjoy that as long as possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Every time I look at that hat, I'm thinking, I don't know if I can live without that hat. That is so fun. Anyhow, Lynette.
I shall get you one.
Oh, it's so fun. Oh, and
I
Lynette.
think I would just like to tell Miriam, actually, I've been a person who kind of lost my why, even before I had my surgery. My why was to be the healthiest that I could be for my grandchildren, because I wasn't able to do that for my own children. It was to be a true partner to my husband. It was to not worry my parents that I was going to die before they did. It was to be healthy, lean, and strong AF. That's what it was. And then I started chasing this number on a scale and it became addicting to me. I got down to about 140 pounds. And when I look at pictures of myself then, I'm like, oh, that's really too thin. Like, too thin. I've gained about 25 pounds, which, you know what? If I didn't have a scale giving me a number, I would be so happy with the body that I'm in right now. I'd be so happy. That number messes with my mind when it shouldn't. When I am doing all of my whys, I'm doing those things. I achieved those things. Who, when they started at 325, wouldn't be happy at 165? Honestly. And I have to think about those things. I really do. And sometimes the number just really doesn't matter. It's more of a hindrance than anything. And I always try to tell myself that comparison is the thief of joy. You know what?
I,
Do
I'm the
you?
turtle in my own race. I say that all the time, but it's a visual that I give myself that's like,
Yeah.
okay, the turtle really looks stupid. The whole
Yeah.
world thinks the turtle looks very stupid, very
Yeah.
lame little animal,
Yeah. So
But
even though your measurements haven't gone down, even though if you're worried about a metric, look at all your other non-scale victories. That's how I'm trying to learn to see things now. And it's helpful because it's a struggle when you rely on a number to give you satisfaction or peace.
oh yeah. Oh yeah. What about you, Miriam? I know you must have a closing thoughts hearing all of us.
Oh, I think it's been summed up really nicely. But I just want to say one more thing about the numbers, though. I agree. It's just that scale got to be put away.
Yep.
It just got to be put away because I can be trusted to make the right decision when you just leave me alone. You know, and with the metrics, yeah, you're right. It has a place
It does.
if you haven't been a lifelong dieter. I know what a cup of grapes looks like. I know that the entire 4 pounds I bought on sale is not a portion. I mean, if some people are really, they're even our age, they're new to dieting and they don't understand this. And that's why I say, eat and then look it up. Don't be like a slave to the food trackers. Use it as a tool and say, "Oh, I guess that was a lot of grapes," or "I guess that was a lot of whatever." So just trying to stay away from that. And I also find that and I'm not saying that losing weight, dieting, and all that, I'm not bad mouthing that. I'm just saying it has a place. And when you've been dieting for 60 years, its place is sort of there somewhere. The thing is I find also when I eat according to numbers and being on Weight Watchers, that was the worst offender, is that I didn't learn my hunger and fullness signals. It was like, oh my God, I got 4 points left. I'm going to go for ice cream. Or I have, you know what I mean? You don't really learn what you need to learn. And by sort of letting the numbers go and focusing more on the nutrition, less on the numbers, it's enabled me. And like you, Lynette, like I'll go, no, that's not that's not my stomach talking.
Mhm.
That's not my stomach talking. And when I was really heavy duty into tracking and numbers and like that wasn't even an issue. If I had 250 calories left or 4 points left or whatever, or had my weeklies that I didn't use yet, that determined how much I ate, as opposed to, no, that's not my stomach talking. You hit it right on the button. Anyway,
I'm
that's
3 years out and I'm still working on that.
yeah,
So I can totally understand. I have to be very intentional on what I bring into my house
Yes.
right.
because it's not a serving of chips, it's a bag of chips. I really, I do. I struggle every day with it. Again, like I said, I have to just try to make the next right choice. And that's how I try to do every day. Sometimes I fail and sometimes I'm fabulous.
And since moving here near the grandchildren, I have spent more money on single serve packets. It well worth the money, well worth the money. Want it, you want M&Ms, I paid extra for the little whatever. Especially if you have kids around, so grandkids around. And for yourself, I mean, I can have a single serve pack of chips and I'm okay. The bag, the bag, not a prayer of putting
Mhm.
that down until it's empty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And any of you that are listening to this and say, what, I can't count numbers, I can't get on the scale. No, actually, what they're sharing is their process. I know some people that honestly, they get on the scale every single day. The most I do is 1 day a week. But I know some that will only get on it even once a month because it so messes with their head that they cannot afford to step on it more than once a month because it messes with their mindset. And if you heard Richard Angelo yesterday, he's numerical with all of his eating pillar still, and he's several years into all of his weight loss, but he's comfortable with that.
Yep.
And so the real point that we're hoping you get from here is find your comfort spot and then embrace that. Doesn't have to match anybody around you. And if you're concerned people will judge you, just don't tell the neighbors and your family. Just do what you know you need to do to find peace on the journey of your nutrition. And thank you, girls. You all represent a whole different thought process, and yet we're one heart here together. So I appreciate you girls as my girlfriends and that you took the time. I know people will be set free minimally on a bunch of stuff that they're hanging on to on this thought process. And go look on the app, you guys. There's great healthy recipes. And if
Mhm.
your goal is to lose weight, you put that play into place too, but do it in a way that fits who you are as a person. So
Mhm.
love you tons, girls. Thank you so much. This has been a
Thank
riot.
you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.